COVID-19 crisis has had a profound impact everywhere in the world. We've all been hit hard in our own ways, missing our friends, missing our families, and missing our communities. And throughout this whole series of crises, when it sometimes seemed that hope was nowhere to be found, I remembered we had communities in control coming up, and that it would be the best place in the world to find hope.
For this event, I take great pleasure in doing a welcome to country. And we say, Waminjeka, welcome. We are on Wurundjeri Woiwurrung land here in North Melbourne.
The dawn is breaking. The world is waking to a bright new day. When none defame us, no restriction tame us.
But the three main things that became really clear with very good leaders was that they had very clear purpose, they had really strong values that you could depend on no matter what, and they were pragmatic optimists. So they didn't say something was going to be very difficult or very easy. What they said was, together we'll ride the bumps, we'll figure it out, and we'll get through it.
The building I'm broadcasting from is the very beautiful co-working space in North Melbourne known as our community house. Now that our borders are finally coming down, I hope you'll come and pay a visit to us here at OC House and see this space if you're around. It's a big, airy building full of life, ideas, stacks of modern art. I'm surrounded by it here in this room, and lots of greenery and plants. And I know all about those because I potted a lot of them.
Even if we were to stop all our emissions today, like just cut them off or whatever, there's about another 20 years of warming in the pipeline. But just some parallels between COVID and climate change and things that, we could draw lessons from. So Australia's response to COVID, swift, decisive and based on evidence and expert opinion. A little bit shaky to start with, but improved very quickly. It required some massive spending up front and rapid action, which seemingly seemed at odds with ideology. So we saw free childcare and we managed to eliminate poverty overnight, at least temporarily. So we know that these things can be done. And it wasn't that difficult.
There are more jobs in a renewable recovery than fossil fuel. There's very powerful stuff. So if we're wanting to do the right thing by the Australian community, that's where we move. Regionally, our Pacific neighbours are desperate because if their neighbours don't phase out fossil fuels, the rising sea levels will literally put their survival at risk. It's as drastic as that.
At the Riverside car park, Tony and I stood for the next 4 hours watching the fire grow towards our place. People gathered. Locals, tourists, children, elderly people. The adrenaline was phenomenal. We checked our phones, we texted family saying, "We're safe. We'll call you when it's over. Don't know about the house." If I can bring you one message today, from that grim place where I stood and watched, it's this: do not wait until the fire is at your door before you do something to bring change.
What I learnt is that it is possible to break, even really badly. And it is possible to feel like you won't ever be healthy or happy again. And you will recover. And the good and the bad news is that there probably isn't a single pill or guru who can make it all better. And my hope is that by being totally honest about falling apart, others will know that they're not alone if and when it happens to them, or if and when it happens to their children or their work colleagues.
Any sneak peeks into the report that's coming out next week?
That growth in telehealth is really phenomenal, 0.04 to 35% of health services. That focus on localisation and the extra pressure that's been put on public parks and recreation areas. Equally, blue spaces and arts and cultural facilities. There's been this trend away from the large establishments to more local interactions, which makes sense with some of the restrictions that have been in place.
So there's been lots of work on the links between the costs of not dealing with these social issues economically but less so about connecting the economics to the social progress piece, which is where we want to start to see the shift, because we think that actually the economy matters enormously. So let's marry up the economic progress with the social progress for that piece around inclusive growth.
Hey, my name's Tom Nash. I'm a speaker, writer, DJ, and I also happen to be a quadruple amputee. As a result of an illness I suffered when I was 19, I lost both of my arms and both of my legs. As you can probably tell, I don't take half measures in life. I've actually learned a lot from having a disability and spend most of my time these days disseminating relevant lessons that I've learned that I believe are equally as relevant to everyone as they have been to me. It's a way that I kind of turn my disability into an advantage. It's either that or an extremely inefficient method of acquiring a good parking spot.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of Communities in Control.
I'm particularly thrilled to be here from our community house on Wurundjeri land. It is the first time I have presented outside of my home in more than 6 months, so it's pretty exciting to be out and about again. So what I was really hoping to do today is to put some numbers on the table that I think are the best representation of both the snapshot of inequality in Australia in terms of wealth and income. I want to talk a bit about how that's changed over time. And then I want to talk about some different dimensions of inequality. Imagine Australian wealth is on a ladder. 50% of Australians are going to be about halfway to the bottom rung, so just halfway up that first step. The top 10% are about 1.5 rungs up. The top 1% are about 5 rungs up. Gina Reinhardt is 10 kilometres off the ground.
The first principle is you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. And that's true in this sector because people are so possessed of the fact that that they want to do a good job. So so that's the mechanism that I've built, and I think that that creates a structure which can take knowledge up a hierarchy. I've given talks on it. I've got stuff on it. I can send it to you. But you can't. It's not about some slogans in a TED talk. That won't work.
The tragedy for tobacco is there is precisely 0 global influencers who are trying to bring an end to the problem of tobacco. It makes absolutely no sense. So think of this year. Everyone's going to think of this year as the COVID year, but in fact, we should think of this year as the tobacco year. Because so far this year, tobacco has killed 6 times more people than COVID. And it's just this extraordinary number of people who continue to suffer from this product. And the companies are made by people. We make the rules. The companies were established, and we can fix this problem. It's not a virus that we're up against. It's just other human beings.
And finally, Sumitra Thavapalan from the Haymarket Foundation in New South Wales. Well done to the 4 of you, and congratulations on an amazing year, and particularly to all of the treasurers out there that have done incredible work over the last 12 months. Well done to yourselves as well.
Congratulations, everyone.
Tell me about posters. Why posters? I mean, you trained as an artist. You've been overseas and done study overseas, and you could be in galleries, you could be in, private collections, but you choose to be literally wandering the nation's streets, highways and byways with a pot of flour glue and a rolled up, bundle of posters. Why this?
Well, that's a question I keep asking myself, and that's what the book's really about, is because I got so wrapped up in the projects that I never really stopped to think, why have I found myself in this weird position of traveling around the country, sticking up thousands of posters? And because it was never really something that I envisaged and then sort of built towards. In a way it was, but I really just started doing it and found that it was something that really gave me a sense of purpose, and I've kept going. To me, the art that I like the best speaks to me in a very intuitive way, and I like that ability of art to sort of cut through theory and be able to speak to a large amount of people. And posters are all about that.
First we shape our cities and then they shape us.
And I think in an ideal world, it's actually the community who drives the spaces. The situation that we often have is that the levers around how cities are created are not as bottom up as I would like them to be, particularly in new neighbourhoods. And so we do have the space that actually the decisions made can heavily influence community in a positive direction or in a negative direction if it's not done well. And so, generally by way of process, what we certainly need a lot more of is collaboration around those conversations. But I think the best spaces, like the most successful spaces, both from a data perspective, but also from a placemaking perspective, will be ones that are community-led and have community, I would say, fingerprints on them, that you can see evidence and signs that communities are in control of those spaces.
Here, as in America, regressive tax cuts, where the wealthy get the biggest share, and the business tax relief, these have not led to the economic benefits promised. The top 10% of income earners save the extra they get. The bottom 90% spend it. So if you're looking for economic stimulus, you would think it's a no-brainer where you would best find it. Social justice, or inclusive prosperity, is in fact better economics. A lesson so far not heeded by the current Australian government. So I make Joan Kirner's final words in 2012 my own. Our task as social justice advocates is to enhance humanity. So to you all, thank you for what you are already doing for our common humanity, and may you accept the challenge to keep doing it.
See you next year, hopefully in person. The event will be on in May, so I don't pray these days, but sort of whatever I have to do, hopefully we'll see you all in May, in face-to-face. Go change the world and do it fast. Time is running out. Thank you, everyone.